Philly, what is going on? Welcome back. Welcome back to Volume 9 of Drunk on Ice. I am here with my amazing co-host, Jason. Jason, welcome back.
Bro, what's going on, man? I feel like it's been like a year.
It's been a minute, but let's be honest, the hometown team, nothing really has changed.
Yeah, that seems to be a common recurring theme with the Flyers. Obviously, you know, if you want to really put a realistic word on it, it's been ineptitude, and obviously, some things have went down in the last couple weeks. I know Daniel Briere came on as a quote unquote assistant GM.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is he's been around actually in the kind of doing the role for probably a month or two.
Right.
And they just decided to kind of give him the title. But I mean, I'm sorry, like I love Daniel Briere, the player. I loved watching Daniel Briere, but I don't see Daniel Briere making some huge difference in this organization because you and I both agree that it's above him. Like,
yeah. I mean, listen, it seems to fit the storyline of this franchise right now, which is it's not about what it is, it's about what it looks like, right? It looks like we're addressing things and it looks like we're making changes but in reality, it's the same inept team with the same problems that can't draft, that can't develop talent, that has to supplement eternally in free agency and then overpays for guys that underperform. And like, we're just in this like cycle of stupidity with this team that like, it was almost prophetic, Jay, that G goes to the All-Star game and wins the MVP. And then everybody is on G's jock, like, oh, he's going to be great when he gets out of Philly. He's going to be great when he gets shipped to, Toronto, Colorado, Vegas, wherever. And they just don't see the internal frustration with a guy who's just never been able to elevate and play at the elite level.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else. There's not really much else you can say.
There's not, man.
Obviously, this team, I obviously, in my opinion, the season's over. I mean, obviously, Couturier got shut down today. Ryan Ellis, I don't see him coming back. I mean, honestly, there's really nothing to really look forward to on this team. And honestly, I've said it. You've said it. A multitude of us realists, I would call us fans, not haters, but realists and people that understand the ineptitude of this organization and how long it's been inept as far as decision making. I honestly blow it up, and to me, the only thing I really do get satisfaction in is watching Carter Hart. And even that at times, has become kind of a moot point because the defense, once again, in front of him has been piss poor. And I saw a stat. I don't have it. I wish I would have kept the tweet and like put it in my drafts or saved it. I don't have it in front of me, but I saw a stat basically saying that with how bad the Flyers defense has been, Carter Hart still has like the 16th best save percentage, but if the Flyers defense was, I forget how the tweet was, how it read, but basically what it said was the way Carter Hart's playing, if the Flyers defense was just half bad, he would be in the top 5 in save percentage in the NHL. So
and that's the comical part, right? The comical part is that I mean, we'd be beating a dead horse if we sit here and rehash our episode 1 and talked about, I mean, the letters on the sweaters and all that nonsense. Like, we don't have to go over that. The fact that, you came off of that All-Star break and you laid a fucking egg to the fucking Red Wings.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that should just tell you all you need to know about this team. There's a zero heart. There's zero care. Listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You know where we both stand. That's why it's like it's kind of become frustrating and almost comical to even have Flyers podcast, because I feel like all we do is rehash the negative. But realistically, what else is there to do? Like, there's not even like a thing where you could come out and say, wow, they actually really gave a shit last game. They actually came out and wore their heart in their sleeve, and they lost a tough one. You can't even say that with this team because they just don't care. And it's just evident that they've given up. It's evident that it doesn't matter who the damn coach is. I can care less if it was Rick Tocchet right now. It wouldn't matter. It doesn't matter who the coach is. These players are not it. They're just not. And you know what?
To quote the famous, blow it up.
Yeah, well,
I didn't mean to take the words out of your mouth, but
I realistically believe that we should be playing all the young guys. I think they should bring up a bunch of the guys from the Phantoms and just say the heck with it. Sit people, trade away your the guys that are dead weight. Like JVR should be gone by now. Like I know he has a bad contract, but I'm sure some team you could probably say, here's JVR, we'll take a 7th round pick or whatever. And maybe I'm expecting a miracle, but honestly, at this point, what else do you have to lose?
Jay, I like where you're at. Like, what do you got to lose? Like, it can't possibly be worse than what you're watching right now, which is a futile effort every night. And they went from being exciting in that first 10-game stretch to being, I can't even say borderline. They're incessantly unwatchable. Like,
dude, they couldn't even get Isaac Ratcliffe's name spelled properly. Isaac Ratcliffe, a rookie, comes up and they can't even spell his name right. How ridiculous is that?
Jay, it's not that ridiculous, because I am going to speak from personal experience. When I was first nominated for the Teacher of the Month and won the Teacher of the Month in the month of March,
spelled your name
11 months ago. Here's the Teacher of the Month, Don Conway. And I was like, you got one job. Like, you have one job. Spell the name right. So, Jay, when I saw that,
it didn't surprise you.
I had some empathy because I was speaking from a place of experience. So, Jay, with that, any other thoughts on this dumpster fire? Any thoughts or takeaways from the All-Star game?
I mean, it was nice to see Claude Giroux win, the MVP and, perform well at an All-Star game. But, I've told you my thoughts. I think we did the show and we talked about and we kind of ranked what we liked. And obviously, to me, the skills competition is much more fun to watch than the actual game.
What'd you think? I thought the Vegas specific skills competition was actually it wasn't the worst idea. To stick them in the middle of the Bellagio pond and put targets out there. I was like, they could have come up with something worse. That wasn't that bad. And Jay, like you were saying, the skills competition, I think, highlights the skills, right? It's doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's highlighting the skills of what your players do well, and puts that put it in neon and say, these are all the best players that do this skill really well. The game, though, and I think Mike may have brought this up at some point, or maybe on one of his shows, is the 5-on-5. Get rid of the 3-on-3. Make it a 5-on-5. The closer you can get to making it a regular game, the better.
Yeah, which is exactly why, and I'm sure you probably agree with me, why baseball, to me, is still the best all-star game, because it's the most realistic to the regular game.
It's the
You know,
it's the
it's not like
closest thing you
it's
got.
not like they play baseball with 4 fielders. You know what I mean? Like they field a team and they had, obviously the designated hitter. And of course, this year that could be different because now the designated hitter, obviously I believe it got passed that. But don't even get me started because I don't want to talk about baseball right now because that's another.
Oh well, Jay, hey, listen, those are believe what I in the industry. I believe they call that a teaser, sir. We've got all that to be discussed on a future Drunk on the Fightins episode coming up probably in March or April. We'll probably start rolling those out. The sooner we can fast forward through these dumpster fire shows, we can start talking about something new.
Move from one dumpster fire to another.
Oh my God!
Sponsored by by what insurance would be sponsoring that?
Oh my God! Well, hey, listen. Yeah, we've got our. Speaking of sponsors, Jay, you're on a roll. We got our sponsors scrolling across the bottom. We got the La Terrain luxury watches, the American made, American modeled material, super fine, super high quality material, and you've got Team Clicks. And I don't know, Jay, if you've been seeing any Team Clicks stuff on social media, but Team Clicks is actually sponsoring some of the Olympic teams. I saw the other day they are one of the official sponsors of the Jamaican bobsled team. They are sponsoring some of the hockey squads. So Team Clicks is getting themselves out there on a global audience. So if you haven't gotten your team themed glassware, make sure you get those. Rep your team, whatever your team is, and
I think I have mine. Matter of fact, give me.
Hey Phil, thanks for checking in.
Got my
there we go.
Glasses, and you can see.
There we go. Go ahead. Show them off, Jay. What do we got here?
Let me take the Flyers pair, but then what happens is you can
show them. Do the demo, Jay.
Right here, but you can actually order extra blades for your ears and to fit your team. So I did get a pair of Eagles ones, which I will be switching these out for the Eagles because
there we go. You got the interchangeable arms to support your team.
And then I got I ordered it with the blue lens, which is clear.
Gotcha.
But anyway, that's Team Clicks.
Perfect. There we go. So, Jay, we're going to switch it up here because as much hockey that went on, and there's only so much we can recap with the All-Star game. We got some other giant fucking news that dropped. So we are going to switch it up. Jay, we're going drunk on a court. I think we're just officially drunk at this point because huge news, Jay. And I got myself, had to dig this one out of the closet to rep the Sixers tonight. I got a shout out to anybody who can tell me whose original jersey this is. But James Harden is a Sixer. Tell me, Jeff, where are you? Because I was at my desk at school. I started getting the text from Big T Will. He's telling me, "Did you hear the news? Did you hear the news?" And I'm sitting in my room going, "Let's go."
Dude, I mean, talk about a roller coaster of emotions. Like, so I did a few shows with Phil, the Trending in the AM morning show, and we kind of, both shows, like leading up to this trade, talked about how each day, actually by each hour, both of our opinions kept changing because, obviously the different rumors and the rumors in that. But I will say, so Thursday afternoon, I had to work. But on my way in, obviously, I don't really listen to much sports talk radio. That's why I'm with Phil. And, obviously, people would much rather be watching us on Trending in the AM. Right. But obviously, when I was driving into work, I'm like, let me hear what WIP has to say. So I put it on. And, of course, they're talking about Harden. And I don't know what it was, but I was just like, you know what? Like, I went from being unconfident to all of a sudden being confident again. I get into work, and like 5 seconds into my shift, I get that, obviously I have all the notifications from the score app.
Bing, 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 bing,
And it's
bing,
just like,
bing. Right, it all starts firing off.
I'm like, and I see it, and I'm just like, I had to like look at it like 3 times. I'm like, is this true? And then of course I had to go on Twitter, and then I'm like checking everyone's, and then all of a sudden, everyone's texting me, and and I gotta be honest with you, Don. Like, my initial reaction was like let's go. Like, I'm in work, and I was like going like that and yelling.
Yeah.
And my coworker was like, dude, what are you so excited about? And I'm like, dude, we just got James fucking Harden.
Yeah,
let's go, right?
Yeah,
but,
right.
But here I am now, sitting next to you, well, across from you on the screen.
Yeah.
And I can't believe it's true. It's at the point with me where I'm like, did this really happen? Like, I know it happened, and I know it's reality, but like, I can't believe that we have 2 of the top 10 players in the league. I mean, you could argue that Embiid is top 2 or 3 right now, and Harden's anywhere from 5 to 10. So we have 2 of the top players in the whole NBA on our team.
Jay, you vaulted yourself into the upper echelon of teams. Period. Like, there's not another team that I feel not confident that they could compete in any series. I feel like they're going to be active on the buyout market. And to be completely transparent, Jay, they didn't give up anything. They didn't give up anything.
And that is what's crazy. Don, I don't want to cut Jay, off,
essentially, they swapped Seth Curry for James Harden. Ben Simmons was a cancer and was never, ever going to play, right? So that's a moot point, right? It was never, ever going to be viable for him to return and play on this team. And you included Andre Drummond, who was an expiring contract, who was coming here to reestablish his career to get a bigger contract next year. So you traded away. Now, I know I'll freely admit he's probably the best guy that has backed up Embiid. And yes, he was extremely productive, but that guy can be replaced. James Harden cannot. James Harden is going to give you exponentially more production than anything anyone ever gave you. He is the best player that Embiid has ever played with. And now this opens up the floor for everybody, right? You can't double team Embiid because you're going to leave Harden open on a wing. Now Tobias Harris is now slotted in the 3rd scorer spot, which is where he should be. Tyrese Maxey is now a guy that could come off your bench and lead your second group. I really think they're going to go out and get a point guard. They are now an extremely attractive team to that buyout market. Guys like Eric Gordon, guys like Gordon Dragic, guys like Tristan Thompson, Enes Kanter, like those are guys. Andre Drummond is an interchangeable part. So what did you really give up? And please, God, if I have to hear someone else go, oh, well, they gave up 2 first-round draft picks. Draft picks in the fucking NBA don't mean shit. Jay, as you can tell, I'm very excited.
Dude, like, I mean, you have a reason to be. I mean, I can't believe that there's not more excitement. I honestly, even before the trade went down, I heard people saying, oh, we can't give up Tybal. We can't give up Maxey. And listen, I love both of those guys. But my point was, even if you would have had to have given up one of them guys to get Harden, it would have been worth it, in my opinion. And I'm going to tell you why. Right. Because Harden is great now. He makes this team go automatically from a middle-tier team right now to one of the favorites to make the NBA Finals this year, when Embiid is no doubt and undoubtedly playing the best basketball of his career, being one of the most dominant players I've ever witnessed. And I've witnessed Michael Jordan. I've witnessed Shaquille O'Neal. I've witnessed LeBron. And what Embiid is doing right now at his size, I don't know if I've ever seen anything like it. And now you're bringing in, like, as you said, a guy. So now it makes it, you can't all of a sudden take Embiid out of the equation like a lot of teams try to do in the playoffs. Because what's going to happen is you try to take Embiid out of the equation, James Harden's going to nail 40 points, and hit a bunch of threes because that's what James Harden does. I get it that James Harden, I get some of these people saying, oh, James Harden's old. Okay, he's 33. Dude,
He's 33.
Kevin Durant's 33. There's a lot of guys that are 33 in the NBA that are still playing at a high level. Like LeBron James is how old? 40?
Yeah, but Jay,
and
listen,
he's playing at a high level.
In the NBA, though, the NBA is a grown-ass man's league. You are not winning championships with young guys. Those young guys have to be the ancillary pieces. Those young guys can't be the focus of the elevation of the play on your team. So if you had, would I have been pissed if they gave up one of those young guys? I would have. But when you look at what they got in return, right? They got a guy, right? They got the closer, right? They got Brad Lidge. Like at the end of the game, it's a 2-man game between Embiid and Harden. Everybody else, get the fuck out of the way. Like those two guys, everybody else go stand in a corner. Those two guys with Embiid on a low block. If Embiid gets double, kicks it back out to Harden, right? Step back, Bobby Jack with the 3. Like for me, I'm looking at it and I'm just saying, like, who do you stop? Just try to stop Embiid, give it to Harden. Try to stop Harden, give it to Embiid, right? And Jay, to go back to those bench guys, like to go back to Curry and specifically Drummond, right? In the playoffs, Embiid's going to play 40 minutes. He's not playing 28 minutes. So you like if it has to be, I don't know, who the Lopez brother, the guy that was in Orlando, if it's got to be Tristan Thompson, if it's got to be Enes Kanter, like I don't give a shit. Like go in there, hack away, get a bunch of rebounds, come back. Like this is built to be a viable top echelon team for the next 3-4 years.
I mean, you just nailed it. And what's crazy to me is, as I said, I can't believe there's not more excitement. It's almost as if a lot of people are like undervaluing how good James Harden really is. Because like I said, James Harden is an absolute stud. I get it. He's older. It doesn't matter. He's still, listen, he was obviously not happy in New Jersey. He was obviously not playing, his best basketball.
Mm-hmm.
It's obvious the situation where he was at.
Right.
He wants to come to Philly. He FaceTimed the owners to tell them to trade him. And what does that tell you? The guy, and he wants to play with Embiid. So
Jay,
this is where I'm at with it. Dude, not only did you get James Harden,
right.
you now have Tobias Harris going back into the 3 role where he's most comfortable and where he belongs.
Right.
Tobias Harris might be one of the best 3 role players in the league. He wasn't good as a 2, and he was struggling when he was, when Embiid was out and he was,
Jay, think of what made Tobias really successful when that guy played last year in the last couple years was the space, right? The space that was created by that guy and Embiid, right, was what created the opportunities for Tobias Harris to score. You've got that now, right? Now Harden creates that space. And Tobias Harris is not getting double teamed. Like, and to speak to Mike's point, right? To talk about the history of Harden quitting the playoffs. Mike, I really think that Harden has not played with a guy that competes on this level every night. besides Kevin Durant. But outside of Kevin Durant, I really think that had it not been for Houston just being complete douchebags and just saying we're going to trade him to somebody else besides Daryl Morey, I feel like this move would have happened last year.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
think about this, Jay, real quick. Think about this. How much buyer remorse is Houston having right now? Because the package that the Sixers offered Houston for Harden last year, you remember what that was? That was Simmons, Maxey, and Thibault, and picks. And they said no. They took that. They took the haul of draft picks and they got, and I think that they got cold feet because they really truly believe that if this trade didn't happen now, they know that he would have opted out. He would have been in Philly and they would have gotten nothing. And they would have given all of that up last year for essentially an early exit in last year's playoffs.
No, I think you got to give Daryl Morey like huge kudos for this, because not only was he patient, but he basically, like you said, what we gave up for Harden to me is absolutely phenomenal. And I can't believe people are even complaining about it. That's what's mind-boggling to me, that I hear people out there saying we got scammed. And this is where I'm at too with it. So you mentioned Harden being a closer. So to me, the best team that Embiid had and the best shot we had at a championship was back when we had Jimmy Butler. And if you remember, Jimmy Butler was a closer. Well, James Harden is better than Jimmy Butler. And James Harden is a guy that, yes, James Harden, I know he's leading the league in takeaways right now, but he's also second in the league in assists. So he's not just a point getter, he's a playmaker. So not only is he going to score a lot of points, but he's going to actually get the ball to Embiid when people are covering him. It's going to be like a three-way street. Like, you're not going to have to worry about those games where it just has to be Embiid, because you might have a game where Embiid struggles and Harden's going to pick him up, and then vice versa. You might have a game where Harden struggles and Embiid picks Harden up. It's just going to be.
And then Jay, and then you could also have those games where they both go off and they're literally fighting over the ball, and they're putting up 35, 40-point games together, and they just dominate. I really truly think that this was where this point right now, this is where they thought they'd be when the process was done, right? It just so happens that you had to, the guy that you picked turtled up and wasn't able to develop into that killer. And I think some of the stuff that's coming out today, the little side comments about how much Harden loves the game is speaking. I think there's a layer to that, right? That you're looking at that comment, and when they say Harden is a guy who really loves the game, loves to be around the game, is more speaking to Ben Simmons than it is speaking to James Harden in terms of his lack of desire. And Jay, let's not forget, a couple years ago, Ben Simmons' jump shot was on the side of a milk carton. And Mike, listen, you're right. He did play with Chris Paul. I think at this point now, being at a more mature, older stage, I think he sees the value in being on a team with a top upper echelon talent. And here's the other thing, Mike, to speak to Chris Paul. What if Harden can do for the Sixers what Chris Paul did for the Suns, right? Chris Paul came into that Suns organization and elevated everybody's play, and now look at where they are. Right, they're a top of the West team for the last couple of years, and for the foreseeable future.
I got to be honest with you. I'm excited for what he's going to do to Maxey. Because Maxey's already grown without Harden. Now you got Harden coming in here. Not only is Harden going to do what you just said, elevate everybody's play, but I believe he's going to mentor Maxey. Imagine what he can teach Maxey. Because to me, I think Harden is exactly like, I'm not saying Maxey is Harden or Harden is Maxey, but I look at the qualities that Harden has, and now he can come here and be a mentor. So we're in the best of both worlds. We didn't give up Maxey. Now we have Maxey. So Maxey could still help this team now, but
that was a huge steal.
Exponentially grow by learning behind James Harden, one of the best to do it. Like, I mean, I can't see a better situation for Maxey right now. Like,
yeah, I mean, listen, Jay, his ceiling is it keeps the bar for him keeps moving, right? Because in the beginning couple stages of his career, right, he's exceeded those expectations. What we thought we were going to get, we got more. And I think you're going to see him be in a spot where, you know, he could be. Who's the guy on Cleveland? The guy on Cleveland that just made an All-Star game, Garland, Darius Garland, right? He's a young, up-and-coming point guard who's elevating his team, he's going to be in that, you know, he's kind of being in that upper echelon of point guard, right? He's kind of on the outside of that group looking in right now. But if Maxey is the point guard on this group, right? Or even just a point guard, if he's a shooting guard, if he's an off guard, right? He's a guy that could be a guy that elevates this team exponentially.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're set up not only for the short term, but the long term. And obviously, you know, Harden will have to sign, but I don't see that being.
Well, he did opt into his contract for next year.
Okay.
So that opt out that he had for at the end of this season, he's already opted in for next year. So he's at least here the end of this season and all of next season.
Well, that's good to know. But like I said, I don't see it unless they have a monumental collapse. I have to see them. I mean, now I will say this much. By Daryl Morey doing this move, like the bullseye is now on Doc. Like absolutely on Doc Rivers. Like, because if this team doesn't do well, then it's going to be on the coach. Because, you know, player-wise, I mean, the way that Embiid is playing right now, out of his mind, you know, obviously MVP style basketball.
Oh, 100%.
You know, add James Harden, who, you know, everyone's like, oh, he's having a down year. He's still shooting 23 points a game. And he's second in assists. I believe he has 10 assists a game. So if that's a down year, I'll take that any day of the week to add to Joel Embiid. And it's the best player that Joel Embiid has ever played with. So
right. Yeah, no, you're right. And like to speak to Mike's point about like they really gave up nothing. Right? They gave up a disgruntled player who was never going to play for your team again, who got butt hurt by saying he needed to improve. You gave up. Listen.
Well, I don't think I see what Mike's saying, and Mike, I agree with what you're saying, but I don't think any team's ever a slam dunk contender for a ship. I mean, even those super teams that haven't done anything, like the LeBron teams that never won. Like there's no slam dunk, but what Harden does is he just makes your team that much better. Like, there's no way you can tell me that the Sixers are not better with Harden than without. Like, there's no way. And
you're right.
It's addition by subtraction because you got rid of the cancer in the locker room that was doing absolutely nothing for you, making $170 million. I mean, what a waste.
Yeah.
So you got rid of that. I mean, that to me in itself is a blessing. I don't have to hear about it anymore. I am so sick. Like, hearing about Ben Simmons to me was worse than hearing about Jalen Hurts and worse than hearing about Carson Wentz. Like, that was all the talk that you all ever hear. And Ben Simmons was absolutely even worse. And now at least I don't have to hear about it anymore. It's New Jersey's problem.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And listen, to talk about the buyout market for a second, right? Like, you're going to look at guys like John Wall, Gary Harris. You're going to look at guys like Dragic. A guy that interests me, Jay, the 2-point guard, the point guards that I like, right? Like Dragic is a guy that was in Toronto who's going to be bought out. Eric Bledsoe is another guy that I think could come in and be, your point guard. And then as far as Robin, like a guy that we talked about, Robin Lopez, in his freedom, in his cancer, Tristan Thompson, like
there's
those
plenty
guys,
of guys, like you said. I think
they're
buyout
guys.
market is definitely like that's the one difference between basketball and like other sports. Like you have the buyout market, and it's definitely an opportunity that you could still improve your team drastically, especially your bench and your ancillary pieces, your role players. Obviously, you might even be able to pick up a center. I definitely agree. I mean, there's so many opportunities, but at this point, like
Jay,
I said,
Jay, let's not forget. Before this year, Joel Embiid owned real estate in Andre Drummond's head. So, like, if the Sixers end up having to get matched up with him, like, that's not a guy that scares me. Like,
I got to be honest with you. To me right now, nobody scares me in the NBA. And that's what James Harden and Embiid do together. Like that combo is just going to be sick. Like the beard, I love it. I hope Embiid grows a big beard too to match Harden. That would be pretty cool, right? They both have like giant beards.
All right, everybody, put your kids to bed.
The twin beards.
Mike's got the NC-17 comment
That's
of the night.
100% spot on.
Right.
Like,
and you're right, Mike. And Mike, I want to speak to this real quick, and this is something I'm going to touch on in final thoughts. This has to be put in the limelight. If I'm a guy, like the guy that comes to mind right now is Kevin Love. If I'm a guy like Kevin Love who has done anything and everything to bring the idea of mental health into prominence and highlight the importance of mental health, I'm looking at Ben Simmons and going, yo, you fucked up. Like, that's not cool. The fact that it magically goes away the second that he gets traded, now I don't have mental health issues. That's something that isn't getting talked about enough, that needs to be kind of put right in the forefront. And I hope there are people that are that are strong enough to be able to want to ask those questions to him when he's available for media.
I absolutely agree. I mean,
and
you and I have talked plenty of times about mental health, and
it's a slap at your Mike. Mike, you're spot on, right? It basically says, I'm going to use mental health because it's convenient, right? And Adam, you're right. Guys like Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks, right? Those are all guys that put mental health on the map and talked about why it was important. And for anybody who's ever dealt with any kind of legitimate mental health stuff, it basically just says, fuck you. And for that, Jay, I think I can't wait until, I'm hoping and praying that he plays in Philly on March 10th. I sincerely don't think that he has the balls to play, though. I don't think that he has the balls to actually show up.
Not going to play. I bet you $100.
I wouldn't bet you, Jay, because I think he doesn't play.
He's not playing. He is a wuss.
Because, to quote Mike Gilletto, of the Fired Up podcast. Hey, Ben, don't let the door hit you in the triangle on the way out.
If he's not playing, and if he does, Embiid is going to be in his keister all day.
Jay, here's what I hope happens. I hope that there is an opportunity that, the lane opens up. Ben Simmons is driving down the lane, and I hope Embiid just comes in from out of nowhere and just crushes his soul. That place would literally explode.
I'm telling you, man.
I'm here for all of it.
My dream scenario is to face them in the playoffs, like the first or second round, and just knock them out. I know people would be scared because we'd be facing Kevin Durant, but Kevin Durant by himself does not scare me.
No.
And the other guy, you got Ben Simmons and that guy on the same team. That's good. God bless you, New Jersey, because you're
seriously. Well, Jay, considering we're drunk at this point, we're drunk. We're just drunk. Here we go. We got the Super Bowl, Jay. The Super Bowl is on Sunday. The big game is on Sunday. What do we got? What are you looking for? We got the Rams and the Bengals. Tell me where you are.
I'm really excited about this game. I actually, I do have a team that I'm rooting for, and it's probably not the popular opinion team. I know a ton of people are rooting for the Bengals, and I get it because of the fact that they've never won a Super Bowl, and they have the young upstart quarterback Joe Burrow, who obviously I love Joe Burrow. I love Jamar Chase. I love everything about the Bengals.
Mm-hmm. They're fun. They're a fun team to watch.
They're fun to watch. They have a bright future. They obviously have built their team, pretty much through the draft. Obviously some free agency, but for the most part, they've built it. It's kind of been a slow build momentum to get where they're at. Obviously, getting the best pick in the draft didn't hurt them.
No, not at all.
To get Joe Burrow the year that Joe Burrow came out. With that being said, I really, really am rooting for the Rams. I absolutely love Matt Stafford. I always have. I loved him since he was drafted. I believe in 2000, whenever he was drafted, 2009 maybe.
He's a guy that's always put up numbers. He's always been productive.
And I get that. And a lot of people say that they're hollow numbers. And, I realize he played, he did have Calvin Johnson with him for a good amount of time, with the Lions. But if you realistically look at those Lions teams, the Lions are just piss poor every year, year in and year out. They've never have a good defense. They're not a good team. No. So to me, it's easy to sit there. It's an easy take to say, oh, Matt Stafford, is unproven, or Matt Stafford shits the bed when it matters, or, Matt Stafford, is overrated. And that's fine. And I understand people saying that. But I look at Matt Stafford as a guy that even when he doesn't have talent around him, has put up monster numbers.
Right.
The difference that I see in Matt Stafford this year is not only his confidence, but he's happy. And you see it on his face.
You do.
Obviously,
Jay, it's like being
a couple do that to you.
Yeah, it's like being stuck in a shitty not to go to one of our other former players, but you remember the pictures that came out after our former quarterback left and was in Indiana, right? It's like getting out of a toxic relationship and jumping into a great relationship, right? He's in a place where he loves. He is surrounded by a shit ton of talent, right? When you're throwing to Cooper Kupp, when you're throwing to Odell Beckham, when you got Cam Akers, right? You got an insane offensive line. And on the other side of on the defensive side, right? You've got 3 potential Hall of Famers on that defense in Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald and Von Miller. Like, you have him in the best possible spot possible. And I remember when that trade went down and thinking about, like, you know what? Like, he's in a great spot, right? And that was before Beckham got traded, right? Going out there and being with Sean McVay, I think only gave him the chance to get better. And you're seeing exactly what I think they envisioned, in that he could just sit back and sling it and deal and just be in a really productive spot. But Jay, I like what you were talking about with the Bengals. Bengals are a young, up and coming squad. Dom and I talked about it on Tuesday about the fact that, like, we most people questioned that Chase pick when they picked Jamar Chase, thinking they should have taken the lineman from Oregon, because they needed help on the offensive line. That pick is looking better and better and better every time he steps on the field. And that's one of the matchups. And I was going to ask you a matchup that you're excited about. That matchup of, Chase and Ramsey, I think that's going to be one to watch.
It might be the best matchup to watch.
It could be. The only other one that I thought of, Jay, was watching the one that's going to be, I think, the key to the game, though, I think is going to be the defensive line of the Rams and the offensive line of the Bengals.
Oh, obviously. I mean, you're talking about 2 separate spectrums. I mean, the defensive line of the Rams is well, you got Von Miller, future Hall of Famer. You got Aaron Donald, future Hall of Famer. Like, they're going to absolutely eat if it goes to script, because the Bengals' offensive line is absolutely, disgraceful. That is the one weak link.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, thanks for checking in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe that the game will be close. I mean, fairly close, but I think, to me, the X factor in the whole thing is not only the Rams' defense of line versus the Bengals' offensive line, but to me, you cannot put a price on experience. And the Rams have been there. The Rams were in the Super Bowl just 3 years ago. Having that taste of defeat does a lot of good in a lot of coaches that end up losing in a Super Bowl and then going back. Because to me, Sean McVay is going to know what didn't work before, and he's going to try to, put this game plan to the point of, okay, well, what will win the Super Bowl? And I think what the Rams are going to do is, obviously, they always do well throwing the ball. And I don't think they won't throw the ball, but I think they are going to still try to commit to the run, because if you looked at the Rams down the stretch, that's what they actually did, and that's when they started playing better. If you remember correctly, the Rams at one point were, struggling, and a lot of, like, national media was saying, the Rams are going to shit the bed. They spent all this money. And if you looked at it down the stretch, like the last 5 or 6 games, Sean McVay recommitted to the run. And now, obviously, that was with Sony Michel, and everyone's like, oh, Sony Michel. And, like, Darrell Henderson, before he got hurt, was having a great year. He had like 500 yards rushing, and he was, putting the ball in the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
He got hurt. They didn't miss a beat with Sony Michel. Sony Michel, everyone laughs. Dude, he almost ran for 1,000 yards this year. He had 887 yards rushing.
It's crazy, right?
Not a guy that can't run the ball. Obviously, I watched him, with New England, and he had a good year there before, obviously, they traded him. But I think that recommitment to the run down the stretch is what got the Rams into the playoffs. And it's, even though, yes, their pass numbers have been great throughout the playoffs, but their run numbers have been decent. They haven't been eye-popping off the charts decent,
right?
But they've been decent enough to control the clock and kind of keep the game balanced, where the other defense, the opposing defense, is kind of off. They don't know what's going to happen. And if they can do that in the Super Bowl and control the clock, I think that's the X factor. And I really firmly believe a lot of people say Sean McVay is overrated, and I get that. Like, a lot of coaches get told that they're overrated until they win the big one. I mean, it happened with Andy Reid, but at the end of the day, Sean McVay is a lot more experienced than Zach Taylor. Not saying Zach Taylor didn't have a good year, but Zach Taylor is still a very new head coach.
Yeah, I think that you're probably going to see them lean on that experience.
And just as I said, just as I believe that the experience is going to help McVay, I think that's what's going to be Zach Taylor's downfall. Because if you were Zach Taylor, in reality, the game plan should be run Joe Mixon all day.
Right.
Because if you really want to beat the Rams, you're going to have to do it by running the football. And the Rams are good at stopping the run. But my thing is that with a lot of these coaches, they run the ball early and they don't have success, and they all of a sudden go away from it and try to make it a passing game. And I believe if you try to make it a passing game, at the end of the day, the Rams are going to beat you in the shootout because they have the better secondary. They have the better defensive line. Ja'Marr Chase, I love the guy, and he's a stud. But to me, Ja'Marr Chase is that boomer bust guy. Now, Ja'Marr Chase opens up the field for everybody else. So you can't forget T. Higgins. So if you double or triple Ja'Marr Chase, T. Higgins is going to hurt you. They have that good of an offense. But if you looked at every game that the Bengals have played this postseason, they could have lost every single game they've won.
Yeah, you're right. I think that what you're probably going to see is Zach Taylor is going to try to scheme the best way to keep Joe Burrow upright. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to see Joe Burrow roll out, keep him on the move. If they can get those out routes to Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins, I think you're going to see them try to move the ball in short spurts early on, and then look for those 2-layer routes, right? You're out and up, right? Your slant and goes where it's going to allow Ja'Marr Chase to do what he does well, right? The place where he excels the most that I see is the route running, right? He is a route running like wizard. And I think what you see when you see him run those routes, that's something that they're going to rely on, and then use Joe Mixon as the guy that can start to create that space, keep the second and third layer of the Rams defense honest, where then maybe you run the ball, play action after you've thrown those out routes, and maybe you catch them sleeping and you're able to catch them, maybe cheating up a little bit because now they're paying more attention to the run, and then you can hit Ja'Marr Chase over top. I think there's a lot of opportunities for them to create that offense. I think in the end where I'm at, and I think where I was at on Tuesday is like, I would love, in my heart of hearts, I would love to see the Bengals win, because I think there's a lot about Cincinnati that I see Philadelphia, right? I see a very blue collar, hard-nosed city that has not had they've not been able to capitalize on the success of their teams. They haven't been to a lot of Super Bowls, World Series. I think I see a lot of opportunity to identify with that fan base. I just think in the end, the firepower of the Rams on both sides of the field, I think eventually takes over.
I mean, I love your assessment. Like I said, I do believe it will be a close game. Obviously I've given out my pick on 2 shows, so I'm going to stick with the same exact pick.
Sure.
I got the Rams winning, but I got it, and I got the final score 34-27.
Okay.
Rams.
Who's Jay? Who's the if you had to pick a guy for MVP? If the Rams, because let's be honest,
Stafford, I believe 99% of the time it's the quarterback.
right.
Now, unless it's like a Cooper Kupp 250-yard 3-touchdown game that
Right.
maybe Cooper Kupp wins it, but I got Matt Stafford as the MVP.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of went the same route. I thought like 28, 24, 27, 24. And again, I think if it's a close game, whatever team wins, the MVP is most likely going to be the quarterback. So
that's just how it goes, and usually it's.
But I think that Jay, if I had to pick someone kind of off the wall, I would say one of those guys that we mentioned on the defensive side. Like if a guy like Aaron Donald just wrecks the game for Joe Burrow, right? Maybe he has 3 sacks and a forced fumble. A guy like Von Miller coming off the edge, if he's got multiple sacks and an interception or a forced fumble, right? Maybe he knocks a pass that knocks a Burrow pass down in the flat, takes it back for a pick. Like I could envision something like that happening, and if that's the case, and they make a monumental play, late in the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter, I think a guy like that, maybe Ramsey gets a pick 6. Any one of those guys I could see on the defensive side, if the Rams are really able to be disruptive on that end, that that could be something that would maybe put one of those off the wall guys in contention for the MVP.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I do have a dark horse.
Sure, give me your dark horse.
My dark horse, I always pick one, but Odell Beckham. How ironic would that be if he won Super Bowl MVP after people basically said he sucked and he should be out of the league, and a lot of people just don't like him.
Jay, it would be just as
happy for him, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like he's in a better headspace. Like he just, I think it would be just as ironic as this would be the year that the Sixers would kind of just come out of nowhere and go all the way. But I'm here for it all, Jay. I'm here for Joel. Jay, I have this vision. All right. It's on my fictitious vision board, right? So there's a school bus, and Joel Embiid is sitting on the front of the school bus with 2 bottles of Dom, just riding down Broad Street, and there's millions of people everywhere, and he's just spraying. Like I just envision him having that Chase Utley, Jason Kelce moment with this city, because he has done everything to ingratiate himself into this city, identify the city. His Twitter game is second to none. I'm here for it all.
Absolutely, man. Like the last time the Sixers won a title, 1983.
Well, and this Harden, not to go back to that, but like this Harden thing feels kind of like that Moses deal, right? When the Sixers bring in Moses to play with Doc.
It does. It's got a very really similar.
It's got shade of that, Jay. Jay, and speaking of this, real quick, I'm gonna take this banner off because I want to share before we do final thoughts. I want to share with the people our new merch.
I love it.
This is our newest merch that you can find you can get it on your baby onesies, on your beer cozies, on your hats, your hoodies, your sweatshirts, your t-shirts, your pajamas. Fear the Beard. Get your Fear the Beard DOB stuff. There's a link at the top of our Twitter page. So you can go check out our merch store, this and a whole bunch of other cool, fun stuff. But this is our newest one to celebrate the newest number one on your jerseys, number 1 in your hearts. Fear the Beard. James Harden is in Philly. Jay, give me your final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I'm Fear the Beard. I mean, James Harden, baby. Like, it don't get better than that for me. Like he's honestly, besides Joel Embiid, he's my favorite player in the NBA. He has been for a while, and I'm not. I get teased for it, but I say on a lot of the shows, and I'm really not. I'm not a knowledgeable, superstar fan of basketball, but I know enough to know that this is so much excitement for me. Like Joel Embiid, what he's done for me, actually, as a not only a Philadelphia Sixers fan, but becoming more ingrained in basketball and enjoying to watch it. Like you can't even fathom. Like I remember in 2000 when AI carried the Sixers on his back, and that's basically what Embiid's been doing all year.
Nope.
And now you just gave us James Harden. Like I mean, it's like Christmas in February.
It really is. And Jay, to kind of piggyback that off, like I'm not gonna like we talked about when Mike brought it up earlier on with the Ben Simmons, but like for that guy to shit all over mental health, I lost a lot of respect for him because you kind of tread very lightly in criticizing people's mental health because it's something that you can't see, right? It's a sickness, it's an illness, it's something that people struggle with that you can't see. But for him to shit all over mental health and basically say, I'm going to use it as a way to facilitate me being able to try to collect my paycheck, basically says it's a big fuck you to everybody and anybody who's ever struggled, been in therapy, needed help, wanted help, got help, struggled. So I'm done with that. I'm on
with
to
that.
number one. This guy made the excitement that I felt sitting on the edge of my seat, waiting for that Woj bomb to drop. Just like I was texting T. Will a couple times throughout the week, sending him the Twitter DMs, going back and forth a little bit, like saying like, "Yo, what kind of tea leaves have to fall? Like, what is going on? What when all the stuff was going down on earlier on in the week where the CJ McCollum gets traded to the Pelicans. Earlier on in the week, Covington and Norm Powell gets shipped off to, LA. And I'm like, I'm tweeting out the Dame pictures, right? I'm like, go get Dame to Philly. I'm driving to Portland to pick him up. I'm sending out the pictures from our account saying, yo, get Dame to Philly. Like, what other tea leaves have to drop? And then, the whole, the Pacers trade goes down and that, and the Kings suck as a franchise and are giving away young players with no talent. And like, I'm just I'm waiting for something to happen. And then it goes kind of radio silent. And I'm like, all right, that might be a good thing. And then we wait and we wait. And I'm like, yeah, being super yeah, come on, like refresh. Like I'm sure like a million other people are doing. And when that thing drops, man, I'm sitting in my classroom by myself. My kids are at specials. I'm literally running around a classroom, like so excited. And just knowing what that moment saved our spring. It saved our spring from another going through the motions, playoff run.
Let down.
The inevitable discomfort and disappointment that we're going to feel from another Philly season that's going to be I'm in it. I'm all in. I'm 100%. Like I'm ready for it all. I'm here for all the memes, all the Harden stuff. I'm here for it all. Jay, what a wonderful night, man. Really good conversations. Really glad, shout out to Mike and Adam, Phil checking in earlier. Really appreciate, everybody checking in. Chris, everybody who's our loyal fans, you can find us everywhere on all of your streaming platforms, on your your Apple, your Spotify, your Google, your Spreaker, wherever you find your podcast, search DOB, check us out. And Jay, we also have on the Belly Up Network, we are broadcasting our episodes on Tuesdays and check that.
Thursday and Saturday.
Thursdays and Saturdays at noon on Tiki Live. So you can catch all that info on the link tree in the top of our bio. Just really thankful for everybody for checking in and making sure that you're getting your solid original content from people like you. So Jay, with that, Philly, it's been real. It's been fun.
Let's say something different tonight. Go Sixers.
Go Sixers. Let's go.